This is the complete guide to backtesting in MetaTrader 5. Backtesting is essential for every trader before risking money because it is the only real way to know for sure if a strategy or trading robot is profitable or not. In this video, I'm going to guide you through backtesting EAs and strategies in MetaTrader 5 like a pro, including the dangers of over-optimization. Whether you've been trading for a while or you're just starting out, this guide will show you everything you need to know. Let's dive in. So backtesting is the process of testing a trading strategy using historical data to see how it would have performed in the past. This lets you simulate your strategy in various market conditions without risking real money. So why is it important? Well, it's important because it provides insights into whether your strategy has the potential to be profitable based on past performance. It helps you understand the strategy's strengths and weaknesses, like for example, the average drawdown, the win rate, the risk to reward ratio, so you'll know if it will be suitable for your specific needs, and it helps you with the emotional side of trading too, because even if the EA or strategy is going through a drawdown, you know based on past that it should recover and continue to be profitable. And what I'm looking at on my screen now is the top 10 robots app, and this is a great example, and we will go into this into more detail a little bit later in the video. But for example, what we're looking at here is a Euro USD strategy or robot, and you can see that it is very profitable. So over the last 5 years, it has generated a profit of $4,598. But there was this drawdown period here. It's quite a big drawdown, and also all of these small little drawdown periods here. But overall, it is still very profitable, and it removes a lot of the emotions that are associated with trading, especially when your strategy starts going against you or when it starts losing. You do tend to get quite anxious and quite nervous about it. But understanding and knowing that this is completely normal for a strategy just helps to alleviate that anxiety to quite a great extent. Just using this strategy as an example before we move on, if you, for example, entered the market at this point here, I mean, you would probably be very nervous because you would just see your balance going down, down, down. But understanding that this is normal and it will more than likely bounce back based on the historical data or the historical performance of the EA gives you that confidence to just ride it out and wait for it to turn around. But let's go back to MetaTrader 5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the entire process of opening a demo account, downloading the platform, putting a robot onto the platform, and then backtesting it. So we're going to be using Eightcap, which is a broker that we have been using in the academy for quite a long time. They are a fantastic broker. They are exceptionally well regulated, as you can see at the bottom of the homepage here. They've got thousands and thousands of trading tools to select from. So what that basically means is that when we open our platform and we want to trade a particular asset, we can open the chart for that asset very easily because it will be there. They've got lots of trading tools and a phenomenal support team that are very quick and very, very helpful. Another big advantage is that it does offer the platforms that we use for algo trading, which is MetaTrader 5 and MetaTrader 4. For the purpose of this video, we are going to be using MetaTrader 5, and the reason for that is when we backtest in MetaTrader 5, our results are much more accurate because it uses live spread information. So what that means is it doesn't just give you an average spread over that historical period, it'll actually give you the real spread at the time, and it makes your backtest much more accurate. So that's the advantage of backtesting in MetaTrader 5 over MetaTrader 4. Okay guys, so what we're going to do now is we are going to open a new demo account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on demo, and as you can see, I've already got 2 demo accounts here. I'm going to click on new account, all right, and then we're going to select our platform as MetaTrader 5. You've got the options for MetaTrader 4 and TradingView as well, but as mentioned, we're going to be using MetaTrader 5. It's going to be a demo account. Our base currency is going to be US dollars. Our balance that we're going to start with is 10,000 US dollars. Our leverage is going to be 100-to-1, which is normally the leverage I trade with. And the account type is going to be standard. I'm going to click on request new account. Okay, and after a few seconds, you get the message new trading account was created successfully. All right, first thing we're going to do is go to manage. We're going to click on change password. This is where you actually have to set your password. So I'll set a password and then just confirm it. Okay, just confirm that. And we are okay, and that's it. We're good. All right, so what we're going to do is you can see that there is our account number. So the next thing we need to do before we do anything else, so we're going to go to tools, platforms. We are going to download download MetaTrader 5 for Windows. You'll see that there are other options available, browser, Mac, iOS, and Android. Please keep in mind that on mobile platforms, you cannot trade with EAs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy the file because I've downloaded this to my local computer. I'm going to go to my VPS and then I'm just going to paste it here on the desktop for now. Right, so once we click on the file that we downloaded, it will open the installation process. And what I like to do is I'll click on settings, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give this a little bit of a different name because obviously I do run a few platforms. So I'm going to call this top 10 robots app because that is the robot that we're going to be using and we are going to be backtesting. Uncheck open MQL5 community website because we really don't need it. Click on next. It will just take a few seconds to install. Once it's done, hit finish and it will open up the platform. Okay, we're going to select Eightcap, click on next, and what we can do is connect with an existing account. And this is where we're going to put in the details of the account that we created. So let's just quickly check what it was. There's the account number. We're going to copy that, go back to the VPS, paste it in there, and then just put in our password. Server is Eightcap demo because it was a demo account. We're going to click on finish, and here is our platform. Okay, so we're just going to close all of this because we don't need any of this for the moment. All right, what I'm going to do as well is this is the market watch window. You can see that there are already a number of currencies that are preloaded by default, including the euro dollar, which is what we're going to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on euro dollar and we're going to click on chart window and that'll open a chart window for us. All right, let's just make that a little bit bigger so we can see it. Now what you can do is if you don't want to have this information in the market watch because it is quite busy and it does change every few seconds or every second because it is updating the live spread information, you can just right click and select hide all, and what you'll see is the only thing that is left is the asset that you have on your chart. If you had a few charts with different assets, those would all be in the market watch. What we're going to do now is we are going to go back to the top 10 robots app and we're going to stick with euro dollar, and in the top 10 robots app there are a number of currencies. So how the top 10 robots app works essentially is we've got 3 servers that run 24 hours a day and they generate strategies 24 hours a day. And these strategies all go into a collection. And every Saturday, these collections that are generated get added to the app. And the EAs that have the best results based on the historical data get added to the app. And these EAs that are in the app get validated every 30 minutes. So every time it is basically taking the newest historical data, placing the EA against it and checking what the results are. Now, it does all of that automatically, but I'm going to show you what the backtesting actually is and what it actually means. So what you can see is on the top 10 robots app on my screen, we have a number of time periods. So we have 5 year, 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, and 1 day. You can see that there's white and green on the screen. So let's go to the 1 month because it'll give us a little bit better. So this is called the out of sample. So we've got in sample and out of sample. So the difference between in sample and out of sample is that when an EA is created, it uses a certain amount of historical data. Okay. That is called the in sample. The EA, once it's added to the collection, it is then validated against new data all the time. That is called the out of sample. So the in sample is essentially the data that was used to create the EA, and the out of sample is the data that it's been trading on since its creation. So that is all fresh data, and it's essentially a forward test, not a back test. So we are on the 1 month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the 1 year, and you can see that this is the EA that has the highest profit. So I'm going to download the MetaTrader 5 version. All right, let's just get it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it. It's off screen. The folder is off screen. I'm going to go back to my VPS. I'm going to click on File, Open Data folder. I'm going to go to MQL5, Experts, Advisors, and I'm going to paste it in here. Okay, these are just the EAs that come by default with MetaTrader 5, and what we can actually do is we can actually just delete all of them. All right, we don't need any of these. Okay, now in MetaTrader 5, what we need to do is we need to compile it first. So once we've copied it, we're just going to double click on it. It opens up in Meta Editor, and all we need to do is just click on compile on the top. Okay, once it's done that, you'll see at the bottom here that it will tell you that there's code generated with 0 errors. We are going to close that, and you can see now that we have the MQL5 program file as well. All right, we're going to close that, and then what we're going to do is we click on Expert Advisors, and what you'll see is that it is here. Here it is, right? So before placing it onto our chart, the most important thing to do is to enable algo trading. This is absolutely crucial. The other thing to note is that you'll see that this is an M5 robot. All right, so that's for the 5-minute time frame. Currently we're on H1. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on M5 so we are on the correct time frame. But now before placing it onto our chart, we are going to backtest it, and that's what this video is all about. So how do we do that? Well, it's really quite simple. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click on it, and then we're going to go to test. All right, and that will open up the backtester. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just actually close this. I'm going to maximize the backtester so you can see it a little bit better. What you can see is that we've got the expert, the robot. All right, the symbol, you got to select the symbol, and of course it is euro-dollar as we saw. So what we'll do is we'll just type euro-dollar. It is on the M5 time frame, so we're going to select M5. And now you can select the time period that you want. If you remember that we actually did it for the last year, so we already know the performance that it had in the last year because we saw it in the app. And what we are going to do is we are going to select a custom period. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at it for more or less 5 years. So we're going to put this on 2020. And today's the 13th, so I'm just going to leave it on the 1st of January. That's fine. All right, now the other things that we have to look at is the delays. So 0 delays, basically what that means is that there's no slippage. So slippage essentially happens when a trade executes. It might take a few seconds for the broker to actually execute that trade on their server. That's called slippage. So in ideal conditions, 0 latency means it's 0 slippage. It's unlikely, so what we're going to do is let's do 10 milliseconds. We're going to select every tick because that is the most accurate. And what we're going to do, and we will discuss later, is you can see optimization is an option, but we're not going to do that for now. Our deposit is $10,000 US, if you remember. There is no option for that, so we're going to leave it on $100,000 for now. And our leverage is 1 to 100, so that's fine. Now, the other thing that you can do either before running the backtest or after running your first or second backtest is go to the inputs. And this is where you'll see all of the various inputs and all of the various settings of the expert advisor. And this is actually where it gets quite interesting because depending on the EA, this one doesn't have a lot of settings, but there are expert advisors that have got hundreds and hundreds of settings. And changing even one of these can greatly change the output that you get on your backtest. And this is really where the power of the backtest comes in. So depending on your trading style or your trading goals or your risk tolerance, you would change the settings in here. I'm going to leave this on default for now, and I'm going to show you why in a second. So I'm going to then go to settings. And the last option that we have on this page is the optimization. We're not going to do any of the optimization for now, so I'm going to disable it, and then I'm going to click on start. Now what's happening is that it is downloading the historical data, and having good historical data is absolutely crucial. You have to have the most amount of bars and the most accurate historical data that you can for an accurate backtest, because what it's doing is it's taking that strategy and it's putting it against the historical data to see how it would have performed. So the better quality and the more historical data you have, the better your backtest will be, or the more accurate your backtest results will be. Okay, so the backtest has finished. As you saw, it just took a few seconds. So we're going to go to the graph. So if we look at the backtest results on here, what you'll see is that it is very, very similar to this. It is just obviously much wider, so it looks a little bit different. But what you'll see is that it is a very similar backtest. Okay, we're going to go back to the VPS. Now, if you were happy with this, you could just basically go back to your settings. Had you changed anything to your inputs, you could right click and you could click on save, and it would then save it as a set file. So you could, for example, call this first test and then put in the total so you kind of know what it does. If we then go and we start changing things, so let's change this to 65 and let's change this to 108. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on start once again. Okay, we're going to go back to the graph, and you'll see that now we have quite a bad losing strategy. Now, oftentimes what will happen is that you might change too many settings at once and you can't remember exactly what you did. Interestingly though, this seems like it has recovered quite nicely. So actually, although it started going quite negative, it ended fairly positive, not quite as good as the original settings, but still quite positive. So coming back to the inputs, let's say you weren't sure exactly what you changed, simply right click on it and go to default, and we'll put it all back to default for you. Now just coming back to the top 10 robots app, as I mentioned earlier, we have 2 servers that generate strategies all the time. Now it is the same engine that we use in EA Studio, which I will show you shortly, but it runs offline and it is much faster. So there are a number of acceptance criteria that we use. So acceptance criteria would be the the filters essentially. So it's going to have a certain profit factor. It's going to have a certain return to drawdown ratio. Once it's passed all of that, it still then goes through a robustness test. So what that means is it then takes that EA and it puts it through a number of tests for slippage, for example, for different types of historical data. It gets validated against different brokers' historical data. So when we see the EA in the app, we know that it is the best iteration of that EA, which brings us back to the optimization. This is super, super important. In this option that we have on optimization, there are a number of options that you can do. Now, what a lot of guys that develop EAs or even EA testers will do is they will enable optimization. And what that'll do is it will take that strategy and it will put it against the historical data, and it will adjust the various parameters that we saw in the inputs to a point where you have this incredibly smooth equity line and you have a much higher profit. The problem with that is while it looks very good on the backtest, chances are is that it will fail in real market conditions. This is because it has essentially changed the settings of the EA to suit the historical data. Chances are very high that it will start to lose if you save these settings and place the EA to trade, because market conditions change and the EA needs to be robust. In fact, during the generation process of the top 10 robots, once they're created, we run strict robustness tests on them to ensure that they perform in various market conditions. Now, once we have run through the various inputs, we have run the backtest, we have found settings that we are happy with, we can close the tester. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up my window at the bottom again because it was closed, and that is the toolbox. All right, and this is where you can see your trades and your history, etc. So what we're going to do now is we are going to take the robot. Let's just make sure algo trading is enabled. We are on the M5, and what we're going to do is we are going to take this and we are going to just drag it onto our chart. Right, and once again, these are the same inputs that you saw in the backtest, and you can change any of them here as well. Or as I mentioned before, if you found settings that you liked and you saved it as a set file, what you would do is click on load, and this is where you would load your set file. All right, we're not going to do that though. We're just going to click on OK, and what you'll see is that we have a blue top hat in the top right hand corner. Our EA is on the chart, it is trading, and here is the information, so we know that we are good to go. And we're going to just leave this on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to check in every few days. I'm going to check the app and I'm going to see if there is a different EA in the top spot. If there is, I'm simply going to download it, remove this EA from the chart and add the new one. That way I can be sure that I'm always trading the best or most profitable expert advisor based on the last 1 year's historical data. Important to note though that when we are generating, we aren't just using 1 year, we are using many years of historical data. The performance that we're seeing on the backtest of the last 1 year is simply because I've selected 1 year, but I can also select 5 year to get a good idea. A few other things that are important to note when you are doing your backtest. So if we click on the test once again, okay, let's just start it again. Now the backtest is finished running. We're going to click on the backtest button, and this is where you can see all of the various metrics of your backtest, and this is really quite important. So the history quality, 99%. If you remember, I told you it's really important to have good quality historical data. We tested on 375,000 bars. All right, the initial deposit was 10,000. Our total net profit was 4,000. So these are all of the metrics that are quite important. Our gross profit was 40,000. So overall, we made a $4,000 profit after our various drawdowns and losses. We've got our profit factor as well. The things that I look at that are really quite important to me would be the equity drawdown, the maximum equity drawdown, which was under 15%, which is really very, very good. My profit factor, so anything over 1.1, I'm happy with. That is essentially giving me a 10% gain. And of course, the other things that are quite interesting and important to know would be how many trades has it executed in the time and how many deals has it closed in that time. If we go a little bit further down, you can see again various metrics. You can see the entries by hours, you can see the entries by weekdays, etc. And this is one way to backtest. Another way to backtest is by using EA Studio. What I'm going to do is using the very same strategy. I'm going to go to EA Studio, and EA Studio, for those of you who don't know, is an app that is used to automate trading strategies without any coding or programming required. It is very powerful. You can generate strategies based on historical data, and we have included a number of historical data sources, including Eightcap. So if we look at the historical data, you can see that it has loaded 100,000 bars because I've limited to 100,000 bars, but it's got much more historical data, and this runs just these 100,000 bars in the H1 runs from 2008 to the present day. So that just gives an idea. You can really really test a strategy and you can really get a very good idea of how it would have performed over many different types of market conditions, many different types of periods when the market was turbulent, when things were looking better. It'll just give you a good idea of the robustness of your strategy. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on strategy. We're going to import the Expo Advisor that we had. Now keep in mind that this is from 2023 or 908 to 2025, so a little over a year. And if we go to the top 10 robots app, you'll see that it's almost identical. This is a little bit of a shorter time frame, but it's virtually identical. The advantage of EA Studio over MetaTrader 5 is that it is much faster. You can also see exactly what the entry rules are. You can see the strategy properties. You can see the indicators that it's using. If I click on the indicator, you can see the exact parameters of each of the indicators of the strategy. And from here, it is also much quicker. So if you want to change something, if you remembered, we changed a few of the settings on the stop loss and take profit. So let's start with that, for example. So if we click on the strategy properties and we click on, let's say it's on 58 and we change it to 65, and let's say 95, and we click on accept, what you'll see is that it changes the strategy completely. From having a very profitable strategy, we've gone into a strategy that was profitable in the beginning, went through a major drawdown, a little bit of growth, and then a huge drawdown where it eventually ended about 8% down. So that's what's beautiful about using something like EA Studio. Everything that I'm showing you in EA Studio, you do not need a license for, right? If you want to just play around, understand the strategy, play around with the different settings, the parameters of the indicators, the take profit, the stop loss, etc., you can do all of that. So the only thing you do need a license for is if you then want to download your Expert Advisor. So then you would simply click here and you click on EA for MT4 or Expert Advisor for MT4, Expert Advisor for MT5, to then download that EA completely and fully coded and ready to trade. No coding, no programming is required. EA Studio really is incredibly powerful software and we still use it on an almost daily basis in the Academy. So let's just quickly go back to the strategy properties and we're going to put this back to, I believe it was 58 and 92. And as you can see, as soon as I changed it, it already changed the strategy. We're going to click on accept and then we have it back. The same thing with the indicators. You can change the period to 48 and see what it does on the backtest immediately. Actually looks a little bit smoother, so let's leave that like that for now. And let's change ATR to, let's say, period of 27 and see what it does. All right, it didn't really make any difference. So let's change it to something quite a bit bigger. Let's change it to 120. So that's what I'm saying. So you can make a number of changes to your indicators and that will change the backtest output. That will change the results of your backtest. And it'll just give you an idea of how this EA performed in the past. And it's, although past performance doesn't guarantee future performance, it does give you a pretty good idea of how this EA does react in certain and different market conditions. Now, what I can do next is once I've made the changes, I can click on Expert Advisor. As I mentioned earlier, I would download that as an EA for MetaTrader 5. I would then copy it, put it onto my platform and start trading it in the same way that I showed you a little bit earlier in the video. Okay, so in this guide, we've covered everything from setting up MetaTrader 5 to running and analyzing backtests. You've learned how to avoid common mistakes and improve the results, but maintain realistic expectations by not over-optimizing. Remember though, that past results don't guarantee future performance. Now it's your turn to apply this knowledge. Test your strategies, refine them, and build confidence in your trading. Always start trading with a demo account. Take your time, get comfortable, apply new skills, knowledge and strategies without risking anything. If you found this video helpful, please comment and subscribe for more trading tips, reviews and insights. In the meantime, check out this video where I show you how I got funded using a free EA from the MQL5 marketplace. I'll see you soon and trade safe.